We're live.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon.
It's been a long time, but we are back. We're back from traveling to Europe.
We are.
And if it's your first time joining us because you met us in Europe or seen some of our content, I'm Jerry. This is Jill. We're the Cruising Canucks. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Europe and take your questions on what we thought and maybe what you want to know if you're going to Europe as well.
Well, welcome. Sunday afternoon here in a nice sunny Ontario day. Little chilly out there, but nice and sunny.
Sunny but chilly. So Thanks for joining us on our live. If you don't catch us live, then you can catch us on repeat, either on YouTube or over as a podcast on Spotify or Apple Music. So there's lots of ways to find us if you miss us on this beautiful summer Sunday.
Yes.
And we are happy to be home.
We are.
Sad to be away from all the delicious food we found in Europe.
Our pants aren't, though. At least mine.
My pants are. Somebody's not happy about it.
Yeah, so we just did, almost 3 weeks we were in Europe with pre and post cruise stays. Anyways, he came back and had lost weight on the trip. And of course, I gained the weight that he lost. So not too happy about that.
Yep, I was down about 4 or 5 pounds after 3 weeks of eating continuously in Europe. But Europe is so much healthier than where I live. So I walked it off, I think is what happened. I still ate, but I walked more than ever.
There you go. We did do a lot of steps, but you could walk that many steps here if you really wanted to.
I could, but I guess when I'm here, I didn't have the work stress. And they say stress is also hard on the body too. So
okay,
maybe that's the solution.
That's it.
Is not to ever come back and go back to work.
There you go. That's the answer. Sounds like retirement's calling your name.
Yep. So yeah, we were back from. If you didn't see our posts over on Instagram, we were doing some posts from the actual trip over there. We were on a 12-day European cruise on the Norwegian Pearl. We left Southampton after spending 3 days in London, and we stopped at a whole bunch of wonderful ports with only one sea day, and we ended up in Rome.
That's right.
And we had a wonderful time. We were there with some good friends.
We were.
And it was my 3rd time back to Europe, your 4th.
Yes, that's right.
And we also had a chance to meet some good friends there, some patrons in London and in Southampton. And we had some meals. We had some ciders. There's lots of cider to come.
That's true.
And some wonderful, delicious food. So we kind of ate our way through Europe.
What was the most delicious British snack you tried while you were there?
Oh, those feet. What were they? The sweet and sour feet or something like that.
If you watched the vlog that we've released, Paul and Carol joined us in London for a few nights, and they thought it would be a fun idea after we had dinner and we were out on the town for the evening.
After a cider or two.
To bring back some traditional British snacks to our hotel room and film us while they made us eat these strange and wonderful foods. So some were good. Some were left a little to be desired, in my opinion, but it was quite comical for sure.
Yep. And you kind of saw the shortened version because after we did all those snacks that you saw, we actually, I don't know if you remember, we tried some chocolate as well. But the chocolate was a little more normal. So, but yeah, no, good times were had in London with everybody. And we hiked all over the place. The weather in London was a little bit damp and a little bit chilly, but it was still warmer than what it was when we left Canada. So it's still an improvement for us.
Yeah.
And then by the time we hit mainland Europe and started going on the Pearl, it was just one beautiful day after another. We ran into a really good run of really good weather.
We did. We were very fortunate.
And let's do.
Are you doing your housekeeping now?
Yeah, let's do actually recent content since we've been away. But we've managed to get a couple of videos out because we delayed our live to this week instead of doing it last week. And so in the meantime, you managed to see us in London for 3 days with Paul and Carol, some of our patrons. Kylie gave us a tour. We met folks in Southampton.
Sarah.
And it's just, so it was a whirlwind of 3 days we squeezed into one video. And then we also managed to squeeze out day 1 embarkation getting on in Southampton for the first time ever. Yeah. And
where they lost our luggage.
Lost our luggage.
Luckily it was found, but yeah, it was a little stressful there for a little bit. But yeah, if you've seen, if you watch the vlog, you'll see we showed you an example. We have these heavy duty tags that we thought were indestructible, wouldn't fall off of a suitcase. We'll never lose. They'll never misplace our luggage tags. There was a tag on it when we dropped it off, but it wasn't. Anyways, long story short, in multiple calls, we finally were reunited with our luggage at around 10:30 at night, the first night. So it all ended well, but it was a few moments there where we were a little bit concerned.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, it was there the whole time. We had some people asking about air tags because we do have air tags in it, but the situation with the internet is really weird on Norwegian. We'll probably talk about that a little bit. But because of the weird situation, we couldn't use our typical devices to be able to track our air tags because we figured once we're on the ship, we have our luggage and it wouldn't be a problem. We usually do that for airports, not for cruise ships.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we ended up getting it. It was just, it wasn't lost technically. It was without a tag. Yes, for sure. So I don't know. They must have hooked up 2 forklifts to either side of our luggage and yanked to get that tag off. But we did get it. The funniest thing that I kept scratching my brain about, thinking next level service or go above and beyond expectations would be just simply to pull out the personal little name tag that was still attached to it and say, "Oh, this is Jill and Jerry. We'll just look up where their cabin is and take their luggage to us." So we thought that would have been a really easy win. So that was kind of like, wonder why they just didn't think of that.
Yes, they're just too busy to be bothered.
Too busy to be bothered.
That's what it felt like.
Yep. I mean, I was saying this morning that maybe we should just carry on all our luggage on the ship and not even give any of it off.
I would be quite willing to do that. The only problem is when you have a big suitcase like we were traveling with, it won't fit through the smaller X-ray machines, and so they don't want you to do that, right? So.
Imagine the manpower they could free up for like serving drinks when we get on embarkation day if they didn't have to be worried about luggage.
Well, I mean, just the cabin crew people, because I've noticed more and more now it's the cabin crew, cabin stewards that are delivering the luggage. So not only on embarkation day are they making up the cabins and the beds and doing all that changeover service, but they're also delivering the luggage into the evening. Exhausting.
There you go. Richard Branson likes to do things different on Virgin. So there's a Virgin idea. You don't check your luggage ever. You carry it all on. And that frees up all the staff to do other stuff on the ship for when you get on there.
There you go.
There you go. Well, for some people, dragging heavy suitcases on could be a challenge. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And what else do we have coming up? I guess next is the Paris video, which is us day 2 in Le Havre. We went into Paris for a special excursion. Watch that one for sure. Mrs. Canucks says best excursion she ever took. Literally with the words she used.
Yeah.
So won't give that all away, but that's the one coming out early this week. And then we also do our single sea day. That'll be coming out later this week, I think. I'm pretty sure that's later this week, early next week. I don't know. I'll have to check the schedule. Depends on my busyness. But yeah, so that's what's coming out, and the whole vlog series is going to keep rolling out over the next month and a bit here. And we are going to group cruise update. So we've been away for quite a while, and we're just getting caught up. So we're now starting to dive into some emails. We've booked a couple of people this week on some of the group cruises. We've had a few more requests. Just to note that the Volendam, last we heard before we left to go on the cruise, was almost full. Like most cabins that most people would want are gone, and the only thing left was a few adjoining or kind of funny, odd places on the ship. So I'm going to double check and see what's available, but there might not be any more availability.
Right.
So that we know that ship was almost full.
But if you want to join us on a group cruise, we still have plenty of room for January. The Caribbean Princess.
Yep.
Out of Florida, out of Fort Lauderdale. There's room there.
And we're working on the details for something early 27. So we talked about Norwegian Dawn. We're just kind of kicking that back around based on a few things that we want to get figured out first.
We'll talk about here. Yeah.
We'll probably talk about that today as well. Yeah. A little more about Norwegian in general. And question and comment of the week. Let's see what we came up with. And it is, let's see. So now that we're back, would we go on our future cruise with so many ports and only one sea day again?
Oh, that's a good question. I remember that one coming in. Would we do it again?
Yeah.
Yes, you would?
No, yes, that's the question.
Oh, I thought you were answering it. Okay, what's your answer?
I got to do all the answer? I would say that, it's a tough one. I'm gonna hate myself for saying this, but yes, I would do it again.
I would too.
It's exhausting. I kind of feel like I need to book like that type of trip and then just book a 7 days somewhere out in around Florence in the countryside, just in a villa somewhere staring out at the hills and trees and vineyards just to relax
just
and
to like
unwind.
An Airbnb house for a week or something.
I feel like I need some unwinding time after I get done an intense cruise like that.
It was a busy time and we had a fabulous time. So we would definitely do it again. But here's where I dream a little bit of. I would love to do it in that we did it like that. And then we're able to have a relaxing transatlantic cruise back to North America. So in my perfect world, that's how I see it going in maybe late September or and then doing the transatlantic back.
And and I think on that note about doing that type of itinerary where it's port intensive is I still think like for me, I would rather save the money on booking a cruise line that's more affordable and on a cabin that's more affordable to free up the money so that you can do what you want in all those beautiful ports and dine out a few times and try the local cuisine. I think that all that is more of a priority for me than the ship when I do those type of things. So I would book, Carnival, Norwegian, ones that are a little less expensive over booking, say, a Holland America or Azamar or something. It's only because I don't put a premium on the ship as much as I do as when I'm on the Caribbean and living on the ship more.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I mean, that's been our strategy. So we had an interior room on this cruise and we sort of booked it knowing that the price point was what met our budget. And it was a pretty big jump up to go into a balcony room. So we stuck with the interior room thinking we weren't going to be in it a lot, which we really weren't. So it worked out really well for us for sure.
And I did do a bid. Norwegian has an option to bid for an upgrade. So I pulled out the big bucks and I think I offered maybe $100 or $150 each to see if I could get into a balcony, but they weren't taking it.
That wasn't a big enough bucks, honey.
That's my version of big bucks.
But like Jerry said, we saved the money on that cabin a little bit and we spent it on the shore excursion that we took to Paris in that one shot. It was an expensive shore excursion, but it was probably, like we said, or I said, probably my favorite one I've ever done. So we were happy to spend the money there, as opposed to a balcony that we wouldn't probably be using too much because we were so busy.
For sure. Even though it'd be beautiful to have a balcony to see some of those ports you go into, but
absolutely.
That's the trade-off, right?
But luckily they had a nice deck 7 that we went out and did some really fun sailaways on that area with our friends. So.
Trivia question of the week, staying with the Norwegian theme.
Okay.
Let's see how you do with this one. This is also kind of an infomercial / trivia question.
Okay.
Because I think people would need to know this. But it is... A phone scam was reported recently where a caller pretended to be from Norwegian Cruise Line as a sales rep and asked for a credit card to help pay for cruise-related expenses.
Oh, my.
What cruise-related expenses do you think that this fake rep was trying to sell to people?
Port taxes?
Nope.
I have no idea.
There's 2. I'm curious to see if anybody can guess what it was. So
read the question one more time.
So there was a scam where a person pretends to be from Norwegian Cruise Lines as a sales rep. They're calling up and they are offering to take your credit card to help pay for some different expenses that come up concerning their cruise. And I don't know if they're just cold calling people and just hoping that they've booked a Norwegian cruise. I almost wonder how they knew who to call.
Okay.
And I've seen some answers saying casino, drink package, excursions. I think those are all good things that they probably could have used. And I don't think they're above using multiple different things based on what I found out. The first call to the first lady was they had called up and were offering to book the airfare. That they said there was a great deal on the airfare to their cruise.
Oh, okay.
And if they just provided their credit card, that they would book the airfare. They were so excited about it, but they didn't have enough room on one credit card. So they actually gave this scammer 2 credit cards to book the airfare. And they put fraudulent charges and took these people for some money on their credit cards. So that was the first thing. You'll never believe this.
Awful.
It's almost impossible, but I was looking at the story and I think it's legitimate. The same person was scammed again by another fake rep from Norwegian. They called back a month later.
No.
They called back to say, great news, that your cruise has now been discounted and it's less money than when you booked it. So we want to refund you the difference back on your credit card. Can we have your new credit card number?
Oh, no.
Same thing, same person, different scam happened.
Oh, that's awful.
And it scares me because I know there's so many different seniors out there that deal with this type of stuff. And they're not as tech savvy and they're not as skeptical or guarded about, people trying to take them for the money,
seniors,
right?
I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And they pretend to be a Norwegian rep and then they call up and they try to scam you for your credit card so they can then go and charge other things on your credit card. So, yeah. So
that's awful.
That's awful. But when I saw it, I thought it was an important thing to bring up because we're all cruisers.
Yeah.
And if you get a call, don't
double
be giving
check it, guys.
Don't be giving your credit card out.
Don't do it. Call the company back on and yourself and call them.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a good.
I didn't hear this. I didn't know this.
Yeah. No, it was very, very disturbing considering that. And like I said, I would love to know how the heck they would have known that these people booked a Norwegian cruise and then.
Well, that's true too. How is
It almost makes you think
almost
that they
feels
knew
like
the people.
there's an inside job there, component to it or something.
So
Awful.
be careful that this type of stuff is now happening in our cruise community. We've heard about that in other things.
Traveling things.
Taxes, a whole bunch of things that they try to scam you for credit cards. But yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. That is the dark trivia question of the day. But it's an infomercial. I wanted people to know.
Okay.
And so I guess we're there. We're going to chat about Europe and take some questions and comments and everything else. So I did see a couple come in. So maybe we should do a couple of questions first. And then we'll start into what we thought about our cruise to Europe.
All right.
So I'm going to grab a couple of those for me. Let me just see. I'll see if I can find them.
I think the first one was
how's the entertainment?
Yeah, exactly.
So how is the entertainment on Norwegian?
It was interesting is the first word I can say. So I think there must have been something going on behind the scenes on the Norwegian Pearl that we didn't know about, because when we got on board, the scheduled show in the main theater that night was a welcome aboard show, which is generally the case on most embarkation days on a cruise ship. It was in our schedule. It was on the app. And then around a half an hour or so before showtime, they made an announcement and they changed it up. And it happened to be
the magician
comedian. And of course, at that point, we were already walking in to get our seats there. So Jerry had us sitting third row center right there to a show that I normally would try to avoid. But anyways, so that was interesting. And the funniest part about that whole scenario, because I'm uncomfortable sitting there, don't want to be there, but you're not going to stand up in the middle of a comedian show or a magician show to draw attention to yourself. But so I didn't. I stayed there nice and quietly, and he came and pulled Jerry up on stage. So Jerry was up on stage, and not just for a minute or two. We were probably up there for a good 10, 15 minutes of his show. Anyways, that was... Besides that, there did seem to be a little bit of changing going on with the main theater shows. So I'm not sure what was happening there, but we did end up eventually seeing 3 production shows. 3. The first 2 was, the music was good, the singing was good, but there was no sort of show. There was no sort of background or set is what I'm trying to get. It was just people in different costumes singing and dancing, very talented at singing and choreography really well. And then the third show that we saw actually did have some sets. So that was interesting. And then entertainment around the cruise ship itself. There was a solo guitar player, there was a band, and then there was a duo. And they alternated between 3 different venues throughout the cruise, and I thought they were all really good. And there was one lounge completely committed to karaoke for at least 5 hours a night. So the Bliss Lounge, which is the lounge at the aft of the ship, and in the past when we've gone on Norwegian, they often will do trivia there, game shows there, sort of like the Newlywed Show we've seen back in those venues, that sort of thing. They often have live music or DJ music there. But yes, it was karaoke every night from dinner to bedtime. It was kind of weird for us. That's a lot of karaoke. Plus, it took that lounge out of play for anybody that doesn't do karaoke to enjoy it for bands. Or there's a beautiful big dance floor there. It could have been used for all those things. Yeah, so that was sort of our biggest sort of upset about it, is that they always had a wonderful solo singer in the atrium most of the nights, and there's no dance floor there, so there was no place to dance. Had he been in the Bliss Lounge, and there were people trying to dance in the atrium, even though there was no room, it would have been lovely for him to be in the Bliss Lounge, because there is a nice dance floor there and we could have danced and that sort of thing. And also there's more seating there. Trying to get a seat in the atrium was probably the biggest challenge we had on the cruise ship the whole week. Whereas the Bliss Lounge is much larger, more people could have fit in there to enjoy it. We don't do karaoke, but I don't think I'm being harsh when I say that's a little too much karaoke. Yeah, we thought it was a little excessive. I mean, we're used to going on cruise ships and there's karaoke going on for a couple of hours each night in a certain venue. But a couple of hours, not generally 12 days, night, every 5 night. Hours, 60 hours of karaoke over this cruise. Yeah, that was a lot. So that would be our biggest sort of, we thought that the Bliss Lounge could have been used better instead of having karaoke there every night, all night. In saying that, the Spinnaker Lounge up top was wonderful. They used it for kind of supplement it, so they did have another lounge, so it wasn't like we were without a lounge. That's true. Yeah. The Spinnaker Lounge was where we spent a lot of time and was a wonderful experience there.
So
that's our entertainment.
that's our entertainment.
For the most part.
And the fact that I went up on stage during the magician show means that, like, I wasn't in on it. Me and the magician, I don't know each other. So now you have to wonder, how did he do that trick? Because I was there and part of it.
So going back to the embarkation day, if you watched the vlog, I was a little frustrated even going to the show because we had gone back to our cabin for the third time and our luggage still wasn't there. And at this point it's 8:30 at night and our luggage still isn't there. And so I'm a little peeved, to be honest, that I don't have luggage. I'm a little worried. Like, I had zero cosmetics whatsoever and hardly any casual clothes. All of our casual clothes was in this one suitcase. I had all our formal clothes, but all I could picture was us walking on excursions with Jerry having to wear pants because he only had one pair of shorts with him, stuff like that. Anyways, so I'm worried about that. And then I sit down and this frustration happens in front of me in the show. But yeah, it was fun. I had a good time, but I was sort of like, oh, now I have to figure out how that happened. And that's how my brain works. I want to figure out why or how he did it, I should say. So it wasn't relaxing for me.
I think of everything you just said, that all the guys out there that are watching can relate to, is we're all thinking that, I'm sure Jerry could have worked one pair of shorts the entire 12 days without a problem. That would not have been an issue for me or most of the guys.
We didn't even have a toothbrush or a hairbrush. I had to go to my friend's cabin and brush my hair before dinner, that sort of thing. Like, it was, anyways, the luggage came. It was fine.
You're having none of it today. I can't pull you in.
Can't pull me in.
You're just going on your own track. What was your favorite port on this cruise on the Norwegian Pearl?
So definitely my favorite excursion was the one that we did in Paris. And probably that would be my favorite port just because of what we paid to do. But on our own port, my favorite one would be Porto, Portugal. I thoroughly enjoyed our day there. We had a wonderful time. It's a beautiful community, gorgeous everywhere, and wonderful people that we met there. So I would say Porto would be where I was really appreciative of. For us, it was like, we hadn't been into Porto before. We had just, last time we went on a cruise that went to that area, we stayed in Lexus.
Yeah.
So I was very thankful for Porto. How about you?
You can tell you haven't been alive for a month. You got lots of words.
I have lots of words.
That's what I'm thinking. My voice is not strained at all today. Ouch. You just squeezed my knee. And my favorite port would have been, it was unexpected for me. Yeah, I liked Porto. I loved Florence. I always loved Florence. Lisbon's always great. But I think that, Cannes was a nice surprise. We kind of fluked out. It was like, but just by happenstance, it wasn't planned and we didn't even know about it, that we arrived in Cannes in the middle of the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
So that town had come alive compared to when we had seen it. It was kind of this sleepy little kind of, oh yeah, they talked about what usually happens here during the festival, but when it's not happening, it's kind of, But when it's actually happening and you're there, what a different place it was. It was, it was alive. There was people all over. It was kind of, it was interesting. You had all these producers, directors, industry folks in the film industry. Plus, you had a few actors and actresses that were doing the red carpet walks and stuff. And so we kind of took all that in and felt like we were part of the buzz. It was pretty fascinating. And the town itself, as a result, to me came alive when before I would have said to people, I don't want to go to Cannes ever again. Wow. Whereas I thought I had a lot of fun in Cannes that day. The big, nice. Beautiful yachts. I guess it was a chance just to kind of see how, some of the other side lives.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was pretty exciting for me.
All right.
And what other question? Do you, or did you, I think is, do the long walk? Oops. There it is. Oh, which is a long walkway that comes up to the one side of Windsor Castle. If you watch the funeral procession of Queen Elizabeth, her horse walked along there by itself and it all traveled through there. And it's I don't know how long it is. It's a long walk for sure. It goes on. It looks like it goes for miles. And we wanted to actually do it because I brought it up. We left the castle and we
planned on doing it.
And I was like, let's go down and see if we can get down to there because I really wanted to see that. Yeah. But we looked at our watch. We had to get back on a train. We had plans to meet Paul and Carol back in London in just a couple hours. So we thought...
the rain started.
It started raining. So then we thought, okay, well, I guess we're going to head back to the train and go back to London. But I think it's on the list of things to do. I want to do the long walk and explore the grounds around Windsor Castle, which are...
No, we didn't. We did go in, like you said, here into George's Chapel, and we saw the Queen's final resting place. That was wonderful to be able to have that experience, and of course toured the castle. So that was great. But yeah, we didn't do the long walk.
And Patty is saying that she puts on her luggage tags also for debarkation. Mm-hmm. There you go. I think Virgin encourages that, in fact. Yeah. We had heard from some people that's what they do, getting off.
The same ones,
or use the same ones. Yep. Christine?
I checked this morning, and the only staterooms left on the Volendam are the Ocean View and Inside. All other categories are sold out. Can't wait till September 2026.
And there might even be a chance that those ones that are remaining are like guaranteed cabins. I'm not sure how many of those you're able to choose anymore. So they're definitely getting low inventory there. And so I go past the questions for trivia.
What time did you go to sleep on your arrival day in London, and how did you feel on day 2? That's a great question, Rob.
Ooh, we have a technique for this.
We were very strategic with this. So we arrived in Gatwick Airport at around 11 a.m.
Yeah, and left Toronto at like 10 p.m. the night before.
Yeah, 10:30 the night before. Anyways, and then we So we got to our hotel, checked in, and by 3:00 in the afternoon, so we were just in our hotel long enough to shower and get freshened up. And that's when we met all of our patron members that were coming in to spend the afternoon and dinner with us. So we went on a big long walk, spent the evening out with everybody. And by the time we got back to our hotel room and said goodnight to our friends, it was after 9:30ish. We went back to our room.
So the Coles notes there, and our strategy always is that you try to sleep on the plane coming across to Europe. You arrive in the morning, and whatever you do not go to bed, take a nap, or close your eyes that first day. You last out into the evening, go to bed at the proper time as if you were already in London, and then wake up the next morning at the proper time when the sun comes up. And that every time we've done that in Europe,
it's worked.
It reset our clock, and we're fine the whole trip, and we don't even notice it.
I made the very rookie mistake. The first time I went to Europe was with my mom, and we got to our hotel, and the bed just looked so comfortable. And I said to my mom, because she had been to Europe multiple times before, and she's like, "Come on, we got to go. You can't sleep." I'm like, "Mom, just let me have a 20-minute nap." And so my 20-minute nap turned into a 2-hour nap, and then I spent 3 or 4 days trying to get on the right time clock. I would go to bed and wake up at 2:00 and be ready to go. I was a mess. So I learned my lesson the hard way by not following my mom's advice. And so now I make sure that we do not go to sleep that day until bedtime.
Yep. And we do the same coming back as well.
Yes.
So that we come back, we usually stay up because it's a daytime flight, and you come back and then you wait and go to bed at the proper time back in Toronto, Ontario here. And even though by the time you go to bed, we went to bed like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock that night. When you did the math, we had been up for 22, 23 hours straight. But that resets the clock again. You get up the next morning, you're back on North America time. So it's literally that easy. I know there's apps and all kinds of different things, but that's the simple thing that we've done that's always worked for us. Jermaine has a question?
No,
or a comment?
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. I'm going this fall on a 14-night Barcelona to Athens on Holland America Stadendam. What do you recommend to do in Barcelona?
What to do in Barcelona? Definitely visit the Gothic Quarter. I would recommend that you go through, what's the name of that company? Guru Walks, I think it's called. And they do free walking tours, and do the one through the Gothic Quarter. You'll learn so much about it, and it has so much value that you'll feel that you would have paid much more than the tip it costs to do it. They
recommend a tip of around €15 to do it. And yeah, we've done it and really thought it was very well. It gave us lots of information, and yeah, we felt like we learned the area.
So you do that. You've definitely have to sit down and have some sangria, delicious sangria, some paella. You've got to take in just the old part of the city. I like the old part of the city much better than the new part. That's just me, but I really like the Gothic Quarter.
Right.
You've got to go up there, I guess, and see the church.
Yes.
There's also the Gaudi Park that's a little farther past the church that you can go to. And we also had family that said there's actually another area, like a big park area that's up on a kind of a bluff overlooking the city that you can get to as well. And, we did the church. We've been there a couple of times. We went inside to see it this time. I don't know. It was impressive for sure because it's an impressive building on the inside. But I don't know what I was expecting. But it was like, oh, this is nice. But it didn't blow me away, is what I'm saying. It blew me away from the outside, the grandeur of it, and this.
It's definitely grander on the outside than the interior. It's a little more modern, I guess, than what we were expecting.
Yeah, I guess I'm going in there feeling like it's expecting a new version of like St. Peter's, for example, but it's not that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's a little different, but it was definitely interesting, and we did it for sure. And we are. Oh, my little thing won't work. There we go. We feel the entertainment's not diverse enough when you sail out of Europe. There's a comment Kat made.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that Norwegian did anything to sort of give us the authentic feeling that we were in different countries. It was just sort of typical entertainment that you would get on any cruise, whether you're in the Caribbean or Alaska or whatever. I will say when we cruised Princess in the Mediterranean, they did make an effort to do that, and they brought in local artists, a couple of different ports, and did different special performances. And so, yeah, depending on what cruise line you book, depends on what that experience is like.
For sure. The most diverse part about the Norwegian Pearl in Europe that felt like Europe was actually the music selection around the ship that was not live music. There's a lot of music that I thought was more international, more European feeling, like we've heard on Morella and Cunard and European lines, even MSC. It was a little more like that than what you'd hear on Carnival or Princess.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, the entertainment itself was kind of, yeah. I thought the number of shows in the main theater over 12 days was a bit of a miss. 3 out of 12 days, I thought was a little low. I'm not sure maybe that's all they're trained up to do, but you thought they could have did a little more. Is kind of what you're saying. I kind of agree with that. And Pauline says the word airline. She must be part of another question. Chris was saying the long walk is 3 miles long. Guru walks are great. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you, Jillian.
That's Bean.
And Lynette is asking, going first to London 3 days, what would you prioritize to see? Do the hop on, hop off buses work well? We haven't done them in London. We did do them in Lisbon. And where else have we done them? A couple other places we've done the hop on, hop off buses.
We've done them in Barcelona as well. Yeah, we've done them in a few spots. I know every time I see the hop on, hop off bus and I see the sales pitch and I see all the spots they go, it feels like, okay, let's definitely do this. We can see everything. My experience has been it hasn't worked that way for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of don't get to see everything. I'm on a bus a lot of the time, and I just want to be walking around and enjoying it.
But in saying that, we're talking about going and doing that on just like a port stop on a cruise.
That's true. That's true.
Doing it the way you're doing, where you have a 3 days there, it might be able to work really a lot better for you. Like we've had friends, patron members that have gone and done a 2-day pass because they're staying in that city and it's worked really well for them. So it probably would be a good idea. We're not an expert on that, but what I would say, I mean, it depends on what you're really into, but for me, seeing Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle was highlights for me going to London. What would you like to add?
I would like to add to the fact that I find that the London Underground, the tube, is so easy to use, as are the double-decker buses, that I think that you could really tackle getting around London with, you just get past a little bit discomfort of something new and learning how it works, that you can zip all over the city and see all kinds of things without paying for the hop on, hop off. That would be my kind of suggestion that we started doing. The friends we were traveling with were like, wow, that's really easy to figure out and do. And I think that Europe is very good. Has very good transportation networks that you can get around the cities easily.
Yeah, a lot better than what we're used to here.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think Kat's saying the same thing there. Yeah.
And Layden's Life is saying, how do hotels prices in Europe compare to, say, Fort Lauderdale? Well, depending on where in Europe.
Way less.
Yeah, well, except for Rome, in my opinion. Rome was pretty expensive. But yeah, definitely London can be expensive depending on what part of London you're in, but we had a very reasonably priced hotel where we stayed this time. And
Julie says, definitely see Westminster Abbey in London. We were right there, literally at the steps of it. We walked all around that area. There was a monstrous line to get in, plus there was a fee to get in, and we were weighing all the other things we still wanted to see in London. So we thought, you know what, we'll just pass and we'll just keep on walking and keep on going down to the river. So we kind of missed out on getting inside that. I think it's still on our list to do. But the day we were there, I don't know what was going on. If there was a bank holiday. It was a bank holiday.
It was a bank holiday
so
that
it was
day.
Crazy.
And so there was a lot of groups of people there. Yeah,
so we didn't bother doing that. So, so that's the questions there. So everybody wants to know, what'd you think? Norwegian Pearl, would you go on that ship again?
I would go on the ship again.
What'd you think of Norwegian compared to other cruise lines you've been doing lately?
In comparison to,
Let's go with like food. We already tackled entertainment, so how about food?
yeah, I will say that the Pearl had a smaller buffet than what I've seen on any other Norwegian cruise lines that we've been on. So that was not a big hit for me. And I'm a little biased because I'm not generally a huge fan of buffets. But what I will say is the food that I did have there was tasty and good. There just wasn't maybe less selection. So, but yeah, it was good. There was nothing. I have no complaints about it. It wasn't like knocked out of the park wonderful or anything that I would highly recommend, but it was good. And the main dining room, the staff there, I think made the main dining room for me because we sat at different tables throughout the cruise, and every single time we had wonderful staff and wonderful service. So, and Mr. Canuck loved the menu. For me, the menu was okay. It wasn't huge into my favor, but there was good food. I never felt like there was poor quality of food or anything.
There's not a lot of food options on the ship. There's multiple specialty dining, and we did do a few of them. Mm-hmm. But as far as main dining room, I feel the menu was fantastic for me. I found lots of options. I often multiple things that I couldn't decide between, which is my experience that I also had on the Norwegian Epic when we were in Europe. So very similar that way for me. I feel that they're really cutting back. It's disappointing that one of the biggest draws to the Norwegian cruise line of that type of ship is the pub. And I feel that Ocean's menu every time I get on, it's a little bit smaller, a little more smaller portion sizes. Everything's being downgraded on the pub, which is really disappointing because that was like a selling point of the ship. So now it's becoming kind of like it's okay, but it's not great. Mm-hmm. Buffet, yeah, a little disappointed. And even I like buffets more, but maybe that made me think it was a little more disappointing than other cruise lines.
Yeah, like if we compare it to the last time we were in the Mediterranean and did a cruise, we were on the Enchanted Princess, and I would say the Enchanted Princess buffet is probably 4 times larger
easily
than what the Pearl's buffet Norwegian was. Now I know the ship was larger too, so but still it still felt small.
And specialty dining that we didn't do Cagney's, the steakhouse, but we did do the French restaurant, which we
Le Bistro.
Le Bistro we liked in the past. We liked it again. Kylie's asking the cost of it. I believe all the specialty dinings are $49. I think
there might have been some that were $59
or $39. Yeah, because the Italian was $39. Yeah.
Yeah, so they did vary, but so like with Norwegian, they do that sort of all included package. So because we were on a 12-day cruise, we got 3 specialty dining nights included. So we did Le Bistro, the Tapanaki restaurant, and
Moderno, the Brazilian steakhouse.
That's right.
And we had a really good experience there, which was good because we had tried it on the Epic and it wasn't great. We thought maybe something had changed, but it was back to what we loved on the ship. Mm-hmm. So that was good. And we also did the Asian restaurant that used to be free on this class of ships. They're now charging it as a specialty dining, and they changed the menu as well. Mm-hmm. So we did try it. The food was really good. That was one of the better meals I think that we had.
I was just going to say, I was pleasantly surprised. When we've been on Norwegian in the past, Jerry's always loved that restaurant, and we've gone to it quite a few times. It's included. It wasn't a big deal. And then when we saw that they were now charging, we thought, oh, we're not going to this. We're not paying the money because we used to get it for free. Now you have to pay for it.
Yep.
But our friends that we were traveling with treated us to dinner there, and we were pleasantly surprised because they have definitely improved the menu. In my opinion, there was wonderful food there, and we had so much food you couldn't eat it all. Yep. And they really heightened the menu.
Yeah, and to answer Wanda's question there, she wants to know if our friends enjoyed the trip and cruise, and
I think they had a wonderful time.
They had a wonderful time. I think maybe that's part of the reason we took us out for dinner.
Yeah, there you go.
They had a good time, but yeah, they kind of wanted to thank us because we were kind of like impromptu tour guides in a way that we'd done a lot of the things and kind of knew how to navigate things in Europe because it was their first time together, and we just kind of we rolled with it. And I think that they saw what we saw in Europe. You could just tell by their wonder, and they were just amazed that they loved it. Then they loved how easy it was to know how to learn how to get around in Europe with the train system. I think that it all came together for them.
That's right.
So I hope. So yeah, we had a wonderful time with them for sure.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So that's the dining part of Norwegian. The ship is fairly old, but the cabins are redone.
Yeah, so that was probably our most pleasant surprise was how nice the cabins were. They've all been redone, new furniture in them, new cabinets, storage, but new showers and sinks and all of that. So beautiful cabins, and we're very happy with that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I think Norwegian as a whole on this itinerary did a good job. I feel like we did Carnival before, and I think it was very comparable to that as far as what was available for shuttles at ports and information available. I guess maybe that was a little bit of actually a kind of a miss there. We had this with Carnival too. Was they had an ongoing show that repeated on one of their channels, but all the ports we're going to, and what the details were on shuttles and costs and where we're going to dock and all that stuff was on this little channel that rolled in your stateroom.
And a lot of that information we found was wrong
the
day we got there. So don't take too much bias into that. So that was a sort of a downside in comparison to when we were on the Enchanted Princess, where the Enchanted Princess had a travel expert on board that gave talks every day about the ports we were going to in the coming days. And he was a wealth of knowledge and was a wonderful asset, and really appreciated that Princess had that. There was nothing like that on the Norwegian. So luckily for us, we had been to a lot of the ports before, but the ones that we hadn't been, you had to really use your very precious Wi-Fi minutes to try to do some research to figure it out.
Yeah, and Norwegian is in the Stone Ages when it comes to the app and their Wi-Fi. They do it like no one else does it anymore. They still count minutes. Their app is like not, easy to use.
Right. So talking about the Wi-Fi. So what happens is with your package that you pay to get on the cruise with, you were giving each person in your cabin 300 minutes for the length of our cruise was what we had. So Jerry had 300 minutes on his phone. I had 300 minutes on my phone. But you have to log in every single time. And literally as you're logging in, it counts down the minutes, and you'd be amazed at how fast those 300 minutes go when you're just trying to get something to load, because it really was probably some of the worst internet we've had in the last half a dozen years.
Yeah, we did have an eSIM card for one of our phones that allowed us to have internet when we were at land, because we knew it was port intensive. So we knew that was going to be our saving grace.
And so you definitely needed that. There was lots of times that I would be like trying to do things with the internet that we would have to wait till we got to land to do. For sure.
And when you are going to the European ports, I really find that you have to do your research on the transportation options. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes it's cheaper to Uber, sometimes it's cheaper to train it yourself, sometimes it is cheaper to get a taxi. We used all those strategies throughout Europe to get around.
And sometimes using the shuttle that the cruise ships will sell tickets to is cheaper too. So
exactly.
It depends. Sometimes it's a good deal and sometimes it isn't. Yeah.
And sometimes it's a matter of your time at port and how valuable that is to you. Because sometimes we'll find the less expensive option. There's a line of 200 people from the ship trying to do the same thing. We saw one bus stop and there had to be hundreds of people in line at the bus stops trying to catch the cheap bus that went into town.
The local bus, but there was like 300 people trying to get on a local bus. It's like you would be there for hours.
Yeah, and it might have only been like a few euros to get on that bus, but then we looked it up and okay, for Uber it was going to cost us like 18 euros for the four of us to split and go to town.
We did it that way.
And so it wasn't much more than the bus. So we were there right away instead of waiting in a long line to get on a bus. So sometimes you have to weigh out those options a little bit and figure that out. Like when we did Florence this time, we did train by ourselves. We arranged it all last time. We did it as an excursion. This time we thought, you know what, we're getting comfortable with the trains in Europe. We can do this ourselves.
And we saved ourselves a substantial amount of money doing that. So yes, it is good. But yeah, you have to do your research and you have to be flexible to change your plans on the fly, because what you may have a plan and then you see 300 people in line, you've got to change your plans. So that happened to us when we disembarked in Rome. Our plan was to take the shuttle bus to the train station and then the train into Rome. And the line for the bus was hundreds of people deep, and we were there for 20 minutes and didn't see one bus come. And so we ended up spending the money and getting a shuttle that took us straight to Rome. Yep. So yeah, it cost us a little bit more money, but we wanted to be in Rome. We knew we had one day in Rome and we didn't want to waste 4 hours waiting to get to the train station and then having to take a train. So we saved ourselves hours of time by paying the extra money. So that's how it goes.
And one area that was kind of interesting in London, from Gatwick into London, we had rented a private car to get in. Mm-hmm. We had 4 of us. So the cost was not a lot more to do it that way instead of trying to get our luggage on and off trains and in the tube. Mm-hmm. However, traveling by vehicle into London is very slow.
Yeah, it's faster if you take the train.
Yeah,
we were a little surprised by that. I guess we didn't totally do our research on the length. I thought it was similar in time, but it was probably took us double the amount of time to drive to our hotel than had we taken the train.
Yeah, so we lost some time.
It was a relaxing time and a great view, so we enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't quick, but we helped us get there and right to the steps of the hotel instead of going through the underground and dragging your luggage through the streets.
Yeah.
And we only had to drag our luggage about a block and a half in Rome. And I'm telling you, if you know what the cobblestones are like in Rome, dragging luggage is no fun. The level 8 luggage stood up with those big wheels, luckily, but it was a task. And we checked into the most bizarre hotel in Rome. It was like in North America, when you're at a hotel, there's like a sign, there's a driveway, there's a front desk. This was not that. But it was such an interesting and fascinating room and a wonderful experience. Be sure to watch our Rome
video. You'll have to watch that video for sure.
It was
we had a great experience, and we recommend where we stayed. But we'll wait till that comes out to give you more details on that.
Picture an elevator cage that's barely big enough for the two of us to squeeze into and be locked.
If you're claustrophobic, it's not the elevator for you.
No, for sure. That was lots of fun. But overall, I would say it was a wonderful trip.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always feel like, and we never seem to feel like we have enough time in Europe. It just feels like we're seeing so much, and we're making a list of places we want to get back to, but we just kind of, every time we go back, I feel like we need to go back and not do a cruise. And we need to do a land-based thing and stretch it out a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. So, but Europe is fascinating, and there's options now. There's more and more companies getting into the riverboat cruise option, which is a little different, that you're not just popping into a port, that you're traveling through the countryside and seeing places for longer periods of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe riverboats in our future as well.
We're hoping.
But it was. If someone asked me, would you book that again and do it again, or is it worth it? I'd say it definitely was. The price point was right. The cabins were brand new that we were staying on the ship, even though it was an older ship. So that was nice. You're really not looking for a ton of entertainment on a ship that you're stopping at port every single day.
Right.
You really just want somewhere to go back and you have a nice cool beverage and maybe listen to a little bit of music and kind of tell stories about what you experienced during the day.
And plan what you're doing the next day.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well.
So I don't think the ship is the focus. So it's not a big deal. I wouldn't spend big money on a ship or a cabin in Europe just because I'm off the ship all the time.
But that's how we travel. You know, some people might travel differently and want to spend more time and enjoy the balcony life a little bit more and that sort of thing. But I mean, Norwegian, I felt overall they offered a really good product, and we had a fabulous time with them. They even did an ABBA dance party for me, ladies. So, I was in my happy place. We were up in the Spinnacle Lounge with hundreds of I'm saying it wrong. Spinnaker. Did I say it right that time? Yeah. Lounge. Anyways, lots of fun, of course.
Yep. Great cruise. So that's the takeaway is Norwegian was not an experience that I wouldn't go back and do Norwegian again. Would I do the entertainment and how they scheduled it differently? Yes, I would. But again, because of the itinerary, it really wasn't a big deal. It didn't really take away from the trip at all.
Right.
For sure. So I think that's what we have for today.
That is.
Yeah, I don't see any more last-minute questions. And I see a comment from Dawn saying that Norwegian needs to come out of the dark ages with their internet compared to other cruise lines they call in America. Yeah.
Absolutely,
and it's
Dawn.
true. I just can't. And the funny thing is they do have the Starlink on there now. I think that there should be some capacity for them to do it different. Yeah. Actually, there is, because you can pay a lot of money more.
A lot.
Like hundreds of dollars, and you can have better internet. But it still would be well beyond what any other cruise line would charge you. So it's a little disappointing that they don't kind of...
especially like Dawn said in her comment, when you compare it to like what Holland America is offering or Princess, it's ridiculous.
In fact, I would say that the biggest hurdle for me wanting to book Norwegian again would be the fact that doing what we do with all the social media stuff and trying to vlog it and show it to you, we had some really big challenges being able to even just get a little bit of content out on Instagram. Because the internet was that bad. It was hard. It was almost impossible to stay in touch with family. If we wouldn't have had the eSIM card, we wouldn't have been able to stay in touch with family or even check on your banking or do any little things. We had to actually pay for another cruise. While on this cruise, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have
the eSIM.
So the internet is awful considered the rest of the world's internet on cruise ships.
Yeah.
But the rest of the cruise was a lot of fun, and Europe was fantastic once again. And the people we met and saw were just wonderful and had their, welcomed us into their countries and showed us everything we need to see. And even a few things extra as far as treats and things we had to eat. Those pork scratchings, never again.
Never again.
No more pork scratchings.
Not our thing.
So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll call it there today. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will be back next week again with the live.
We will.
And lots of content in between as we roll out all these videos and show you what we did in Europe. So
have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining. Please subscribe if you haven't done so.
Bye, everybody. Take care.